You're walking a desert trail in the Sonoran. Nothing is moving. Dry brush, cracked soil, a flat, spiny shape pressed low against the ground ahead of you. It looks like a rock with horns. You step closer. It shoots blood from its eyes. Not a drop, a stream, 4 feet aimed directly at you. And that is not even the strangest part of what just happened. By the end of this video, you will understand a weapon system so precisely engineered that it targets one specific class of predator and ignores every other threat in the desert. Along the way, the reason the blood works on a coyote but does absolutely nothing to a rattlesnake. The compound hidden inside the blood that the lizard didn't make itself. And the hidden system that is quietly unraveling, not because of predators, but because of us. The blood left your boot. The lizard is already walking away. But the question it left behind is bigger than the one you arrived with. You are looking at a horned lizard, Phrynosoma, flat body, spiny crown, toad-shaped but unmistakably a reptile. It has camouflage that blends it into desert gravel. It has spines along its back. It can puff its body into a spiny ball that is difficult to swallow. And when none of that works, it has something else. Inside the tissue around each eye socket sits a network of thin-walled spaces filled with blood. Scientists call them ocular sinuses. The lizard has 2 constricting muscles that line the veins leaving its head. When both of those muscles contract simultaneously, blood stops flowing back to the heart. Arterial blood continues to pour in. The ocular sinuses fill. Pressure builds and builds until the sinus walls rupture. The blood is forced out through small ducts at the corners of the eyes in a pressurized stream. Up to 5 feet, repeatable several times in quick succession. Up to 30% of the lizard's total blood volume can be expelled in a single encounter. This is not a passive defense. This is a deliberate, physiologically costly, precisely aimed attack. The lizard is gambling a third of its blood on a single moment. 30% of its blood gone in a single encounter with a coyote that may last less than 3 seconds. What happens to the lizard after that? Here is where the story gets stranger. A human losing 30% of their blood volume is in hemorrhagic shock. Organ failure begins. Without intervention, death follows. The horned lizard walks away, not immediately restored, not unaffected, but functional, moving, alive in a way that the mathematics of blood loss say it shouldn't be. Scientists have studied how rapidly horned lizards replenish blood volume after an autohemorrhaging event. The answer is faster than expected, but the precise physiological mechanism that allows a small desert reptile to tolerate this level of blood loss and recover without collapsing is not fully understood. What is known is that the lizard's circulatory system behaves differently under this kind of pressure than almost any other vertebrate studied. The same 2 muscles that triggered the rupture, the ones that cut off venous return and flooded the ocular sinuses, appear to play a role in recovery as well. But how the lizard manages oxygenation during the loss and how it rebuilds volume so quickly remains an open question in the literature. 50 years to understand why the blood works on a coyote. The question of how the lizard survives losing it is still being answered. Evolution built this system long before anyone thought to ask how it worked, and the desert has been running it, quietly, without needing the explanation. But here is the thing that took scientists decades to understand. The blood squirting works. And it doesn't work, depending entirely on who is standing in front of the lizard. A coyote catches a horned lizard. The lizard fires. The coyote immediately drops it, shakes its head, opens and closes its mouth repeatedly, paws at its face. In documented field observations, coyotes exposed to the blood showed signs of gastric discomfort. Some vomited. Some left the lizard entirely and did not return. Now watch the same lizard in front of a red-tailed hawk. The hawk is not deterred. It strikes. The blood squirting response does almost nothing to it. Same defense, same blood, same stream. One predator repelled, one predator unaffected. This specificity is what took 50 years to explain. Stay with it, because the answer is not in the blood itself. It is in what the lizard has been eating. The blood is not just blood. And the coyote is not reacting to the sight of it or the shock of being hit. It is reacting to what the blood tastes like. The horned lizard's diet is almost entirely harvester ants, specifically large red harvester ants, Pagana murmax. These ants carry a potent chemical cocktail in their bodies, formic acid and additional compounds that give them their defensive bite. The lizard eats them anyway, dozens per day, hundreds per week. And as it does, it absorbs those chemical compounds into its own tissue, into its own blood. The lizard is not manufacturing a weapon, it is borrowing one from its prey. Every harvester ant the horned lizard consumes adds to a chemical reservoir stored in its bloodstream. That reservoir is what the coyote is tasting when the stream hits its mouth. That is what triggers the head shaking and the vomiting and the retreat. Birds of prey metabolize these compounds without difficulty. Snakes are similarly unaffected. The chemistry works specifically on mammalian taste and digestive systems, on canids most powerfully of all. The weapon is not general purpose. It is targeted. The lizard has built a defense system exquisitely calibrated to its most common threat, the coyote, the fox, the dog, and essentially harmless to everything else. Scientists call this exaptation, a trait that evolves for one purpose and gets co-opted for another. The ant evolved its chemistry to protect itself. The lizard co-opted that chemistry to protect itself from something entirely different. The lizard didn't invent this system. It inherited it from every ant it has ever eaten. Which means the weapon only works as long as the ants are there to supply it. Across the Sonoran and Chihuahuan desert scrub of the American Southwest, the harvester ant and the horned lizard have coexisted for millions of years. The lizard needs the ant, not just as food, as a pharmaceutical supplier. Without the specific chemical compounds in harvester ant tissue, the blood-squirting defense loses much of what makes it work, and the harvester ant is disappearing. In the 1940s and 1950s, red imported fire ants arrived in the American South and began spreading west. Fire ants are aggressive, territorial, and ruthless toward competing ant species. Where they establish themselves, native harvester ant colonies collapse. Texas once had horned lizards across its entire range: East Texas, Central Texas, the Hill Country, the Panhandle. By the 1980s, the eastern populations were gone. And here's the part that doesn't resolve cleanly. The fire ant alone did not do this. Something else compounded it. Ranchers and homeowners across Texas were using insecticides to kill fire ants. The insecticides worked, but not selectively. They killed the harvester ant more effectively than they killed the fire ant. The animal humans were trying to eradicate survived better than the ant the horned lizard depended on. The lizard's food supply collapsed. Its chemical supplier disappeared. And the weapon that had protected it against coyotes for millions of years slowly lost its source material. The attempt to fix one problem made the other one worse. West of Abilene, the horned lizard is still common. The harvester ants are still there. The weapon still works. East of Abilene, the desert has a different shape than it had 30 years ago, and the horned lizard is no longer part of it. In San Antonio, something is happening that would have seemed unnecessary 50 years ago. The San Antonio Zoo has been breeding Texas horned lizards in captivity since 2020. More than 1,000 juvenile lizards have been released onto a private ranch in Blanco County, a patch of land carefully managed to maintain native harvester ant colonies. The breeding program works. The lizards survive. The question is whether enough of the right habitat exists outside the fence line to give them somewhere to go. The zoo is not trying to save an animal from a predator. It is trying to rebuild an ecosystem relationship that humans interrupted between a lizard, an ant, and a chemical weapon that the lizard borrowed from its prey and used for millions of years before we arrived. That relationship is still running in the Western Desert, in washes where harvester ants still hold their trails and the soil hasn't been treated and the fire ants haven't found their footing yet. Somewhere out there in that desert, a coyote is about to make a mistake it will not make twice. The lizard it finds will fire, the coyote will recoil, and a defense system built from borrowed chemistry, calibrated to one predator, powered by an ant, will work exactly as it has for millions of years. The desert didn't give this animal a weapon. The desert gave this animal an ant. The weapon came later. Type yes or no in the comments. Before this video, did you know that what the horned lizard shoots isn't just blood, that the chemistry inside it comes from something the lizard ate? And tell us, is there a horned lizard within 20 miles of where you live? Because the answer might surprise you. Desert intelligence exists to find the hidden systems running underneath the parts of the desert everyone assumes they already understand. The ones that took 50 years to explain. The ones that are still running, or almost weren't. Subscribe, and the next one comes to you before you even know you're looking for it.